Hey guys, it's Dale again with part 3 of how to make a bachata remix. Just to clear up some stuff from the harmony section of the last video. I know it's very technical and it seems very confusing as to why we're even doing that. The whole reason we do it is because we try to understand harmony for the purposes of remixing is because, looking at a piano, it's very confusing. There's all these keys and you don't know what to play. Well, the first step is figuring out what the key is, and that narrows it down somewhat, so we know these are the keys to play for in F major, for instance. And then we further narrow it down by knowing what the chords are, and how those chords change over the time. So at one particular time, we know that these are the notes we can play at a particular time. So knowing harmony helps us narrow down what notes we can actually play that fit well with the music. And again, those chords change over time, but it really makes it easy if you have no understanding, no prior background of music theory, you don't know how to play piano or whatever. It makes it much, much easier to know what notes to play. All right. Well, okay, let's make the remix. What are the steps we have to take? We get an audio file of the song. Acapella version is highly preferred. The site is the best. You can use Google and YouTube. We're going to find the tempo of the song. Like I said, Note Discover is pretty good to find the tempo. Audio Keychain, I think, might actually be better. And if none of these work, if Google doesn't work, then you can use this website and just tap on your keyboard to figure out the tempo of the song. Then you're going to figure out the song's key and chord changes. Like I said, these two are actually pretty good with finding the key and the BPM of a song. For the chord changes, use this website. It's pretty good. All right, so we are going to remix Bleeding Love by Leona Lewis. I did a lot of the heavy lifting for you. The key is in F major. These are the keys we're going to play with, right? The BPM is 104. And finally, the chord progression is 1, 6, 4, 5. It's the same progression that we did in the first video. And I will show you how I figured that out. All right, so what's the first thing we do? We open the audio in the music editing software, or the DAW. Okay, so let me open my DAW. I use Logic Pro X. This is a blank template, and don't get too worried about all these different buttons and controls. This is the basic ones. Play and pause. The top part here, this is time. Let me zoom in a little bit. Let me go over here. Each number represents a bar. So the default setting is that each bar is 4 counts. So this is 1 bar, another bar, another bar, another bar. Okay. And each subtick, at least if we're in this zoom setting, is 1 count. Okay. And this is an blank audio track. I'm gonna drag an audio file here, and then Logic is gonna read that file and create a graphical representation of the sound called a waveform, and it makes it a lot easier to edit. All right, so let me drag the audio into the project. Here it is. Okay, now if I press play, it's it's gonna play, but the song is not in time with the project's BPM, which is this. In Logic, this is where BPM is. If you don't know what BPM of your software is, consult your manual. So we can't just press play and start editing it. We have to, like I said, adjust the tempo of the song for bachata, which is between 115 and 140. I'm going to do 120 for this one. And we know that this audio file is in 104 BPM. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to stretch the audio to fit to 120 BPM. If you're not using Logic Pro X, you're using something else, then Google this phrase, stretch audio to a specific BPM in like Ableton Live if you're using Ableton or whatever you're using. And hopefully you should be able to figure it out. It should also be in the manual of any software that you're using, but you can use Google if that doesn't work. All right, so let's say I click on the audio region. I press E in Logic Pro. I'm going to make sure File is selected here. functions time and pitch setting, pitch machine. This lets you play with the timing and the pitch of the song, but the only thing I care about is changing the tempo. And the left side here is the original settings of the song. The right side is what you want it to be. Make sure you don't mess around with anything else. It might screw things up, but you only select this to 104, then select this to 120, click out of that. Okay. This is gonna take a few minutes, so I'm gonna pause it, but I'm gonna press this, and Logic is gonna stretch the audio to fit 120 BPM. It has to make it faster, so it's gonna take a few minutes. I'm gonna pause the video. And the audio has been stretched, or actually in this case it's been compressed. Well, you know, it's been made faster. Let's say I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and then I'm going to move this forward, just give myself some room. I don't, when I bring in audio, if I'm going to make a remix, I don't bring it all the way to the left. I actually give myself a lot of room in case I want to make some, you know, a different introduction, or do something cool before the original song kicks in. So I moved over. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I think the actual words start here. So I'm going to listen to the song a little bit, and the next part of the process is to align the audio's bars to the DAW's beat markers. So what I mean by that, very simply, is I need to know where the 1 of the 4 count is. I need to find the 1, and then match it to any of these bars, any of the numbers here, major numbers here, so that it aligns, so that, you know, all these beats align with all the beats in the actual original audio file. So let's listen to the music for a little bit.
Closed off from love, I didn't need the pain. Once or twice was enough, and it was all in vain.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Closed off from love, I didn't need the pain.
Okay, it's like somewhere here, right? So let's say I want to move it here. This takes a little trial and error, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around here. The 1 is somewhere around here. And you can turn on the metronome too, if it helps you. If you don't know how to find the metronome, please refer to the manual or just Google it. Let's try that again.
Closed off from love, I didn't need the pain. Once or twice was enough, and it was all in vain. Time starts to pass.
Sorry, I don't think my metronome is in sync with the actual audio, so that is a problem. I know that...
Once or twice was enough. The pain. Once or twice was enough, and it was all in vain.
Okay, so actually I think that's it. That's basically it. Okay, assuming this is right, the next step is load virtual instruments, or VSTs, into the DAW. If you don't have any VSTs, just Google, you know, free VSTs for whatever instrument you want. Free VST percussion, free VST bongo, or guitar, or guitar, or whatever, and then Google how to load VSTs into your DAW, and hopefully that should help you. So let's go to here. In Logic, it's pretty easy. First, you have to insert a software instrument track. So I go to track. If you can't see this in my video capture, just go to track, and then new software instrument track. Okay, and the default, let me get rid of this guy, press E. The default is a classic electric piano. Well, I can change the instrument by pressing Y. And like I said, Logic is really, really great with the selection of default instruments. And let's say I want to start with the percussion. I usually start with the percussion and the bass guitar. So let's see, where is percussion? I think the one I want is here, Latin kit, obviously, right? I load up a Latin kit, And this is really convenient. I'm sure Ableton has a default Latin kit also, but you know, let's all right. Now let me close this part by pressing Y again. Now I want to enter in notes, right? So how do I do that? No, I'll make sure this is selected, then press E, and I get to edit. Let me zoom in. Pressing this. Hold on, let me just show you something first. When you load an instrument and you want to insert notes, the DAW you use most likely will have a piano roll, right? This is called a piano roll, and it's basically piano but sideways. But it's sideways because we have to write sideways, so to get out of the way, and for you to write different notes, it's that way. So you're gonna have to turn your head a little bit, and you know, these give you, I guess, conveniently give you C each time C appears. In Logic, if you're using percussion, if you zoom in enough, it'll give you the names of the different instruments in that kit, in that drum kit, because we're not dealing with notes themselves. We're more, for percussion, we're actually dealing with like different instruments. So let me go. So in this view, this also shows you the bars. If I zoom out a little bit, it's not necessarily in sync with what you see here. So I need to go to where we are in the bar in the top view here. I'm gonna zoom in, and I want to do that pattern. I want to do this this one bar of basic music that we talked about here. Second. All right. You know, like on part one, we want to make this, right? So I loaded up the Latin kit, and for the bongos, I'm gonna do this pattern. Okay. So let me figure out how to do that. All right, this is a high note. Make this a little louder. Okay. And like I said, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to do a high, middle, high, low. Okay. In Logic, I think the default secondary command is the pencil. So just make sure one of these is selected to pencil, right? If it's on the right one, you hold on to command, and it becomes that tool. If you don't hold on to command, it's this tool. All right, so I want to write in a note at 1 for the high bongo here. Well, I hold on to command, and boom. So we just put in the high note here. Okay. And for 2, I need like a middle note. Let me listen to these. I think that's decent. And then another high note on 3 because, yeah, high note on 3. All right, and then a low note on 4, which is here. I think that might work. Okay, so here we just did 1 bar of the first row of bongos, right? And the gira, luckily, in Logic, there is an actual gira somewhere here. Here we go. It's hard to see. And simply, if you're starting out, you can put a gira on each. Let me just lower this a little bit. It's louder. On each bongo hit. Pause recording. I have to fix something. Now I just realized if you don't know what all this means, and you're using different software, sorry for the background noise, and you're using different software, then Google this: how to write MIDI in Ableton Live. In short, MIDI is basically an instruction, like a digital instruction that you feed into a program, and then that program outputs something else, like a sound. So I'm inputting notes, and I'm telling the computer with MIDI with these instructions to make this sound. That's what that is. That's different from audio, which is actual like sound that was captured in the real world. I'm not going to get into it that much, but that's essentially what that means. All right, so what we did was we did the bongos and gira, and here's what it sounds like so far.
Closed off from love.
All right, that was only one bar, so we need to do a lot more, right? So what's next? I'm not going to do the rhythm guitar, the lead guitar or rhythm guitar right now. I'm going to do the bass guitar. I think the percussion and the bass guitar are pretty essential. So let's see, I'm going to do track, new software instrument track if you can't see what I'm doing. And again, classic electric piano. Let me drag it down here. Go to the same place, and then I'm going to press E to, actually no, let me change it to an actual bass guitar. Bass, I think what do I usually use? I think Liverpool bass. All right. Press Y to close this again. And then I want to edit it, so I open E. Make sure this is selected when you do that. All right. Again, this has its own timeline, so I have to scroll, or I can just press tilde, and it goes to the cursor. And I'm putting notes, right? So which notes do we play? Well, like I said, we are in F major. And if we look at our little cheat sheet here, I'm going to, do this pattern, right? The 1 for the entire full beat. So since we're in F, we're going to do F here, then the F again here, and then the 5, the 5th note in the F scale, and that's 1 bar. So here's what it looks like. Let's look for F. That's low enough. I think this is F. And I can't hear anything. Oh, here we go. Yeah. If I go 1 octave down, what's that? Let's do this one. Normally I would go further lower to the other octave, but I'm not sure if you can hear it. So, all right. Here's that note. I'm gonna make it go as long as 1 beat, right? And then let's see, what's the next note? The and of 2. We're gonna make another note. 2. But I think Logic defaults, when you write notes, it defaults to the last note that you made. Okay. And then what's next? 3 for half a beat, right? And then on the 4th count, the 5, right? And like we said, you don't have to go up. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I usually go down 1, 7, 6, 5. Okay, now here are some subtle tips. For this note, I don't make it this long. I will edit this to be like that. It's a little sharper. These are perfect. Sometimes I will extend this out. It depends on, let me undo that. It depends on the song and like the vibe that you're in. But yeah, this is really what I tend to keep when I make the bass guitar. So let's solo this and see what it sounds like. All right. And with the percussion and the bass guitar, it sounds like this. Okay, and all together, it sounds like this. Let me close this guy. All right. Closed off from love. All right. It sounds like it's it's in tune. It's with the music. Yeah, and so far so good, right? So don't even bother working more bars if it doesn't even sound in tune. Just fix that and make sure you're in the right key and you're on the right chord before you even keep going. Okay. All right, next are the lead guitar and the rhythm guitars. I won't spend that much time on these guys because I actually usually leave them out. Sometimes I'll do a lead guitar, but I usually leave them out. Let's see, guitars. Let me find a good one. I have a MIDI piano here, like a piano I can play with. All right, sounds good enough. And let's insert another one for the rhythm guitar. Guitar, I don't know. Classic guitar. Let's see what that sounds like. Yeah, sure. All right, I might need to turn this up a little bit because you can't really hear it. Okay. Close that. All right, so we did our percussion, we did our bass guitar, and now we're gonna do our other guitars. So let's go back to this. Let me save this first. All right, this is the lead. Let's just call this lead guitar. This is rhythm. All right. Make sure you click on the track before you try to edit it, because otherwise you will be tricked and you will have lots of problems. Okay. Then you make sure you click on this section either here or wherever before you press it in keys, because that can mess you up also. All right. Let's see. 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3. All right. This in the key of F. This is gonna be F A C F A C F F A. Let me see if I can get my little cheat sheet somewhere. 1 second. Pause recording. Make it easier. I know I'm on the 1 chord or the F major chord. You know, these are the notes we're playing. This key is called F, and then this is 1. This is 3 5, because the scale looks like this: 1 2 3 4 5, and I'm doing 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3. All right. If I search for the F, this is the C. C D E F. All right. I'm gonna zoom in. Sorry for the background noise. 1. Let's make it like this. So we're gonna play with. Second. Oh my. That's the 1. The 3 is 1 2 3. And 3 4 5. Oh, wait a second. No. It should be like this. This is the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3. Okay, so what does that sound like? Solo that. It's me. All right, now if you've listened to bachata music before, you know the lead guitar tends to be pretty sharp, like pizzicato, right? Like plucks. So you don't have to make these notes this long. You can actually shorten these notes like this, or even shorter. And here's what it sounds like. That. Right? A lot pluckier, sharper, and more reminiscent of bachata. So what did we just do? We just did... sorry, not this. Boom. Nope, not this. Boom. We just did 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3. So let's do this part. Segundo. Here. Here. Oh, it's soloed. Oops. All right. 1 and then 3 5. Because this is the and of 1. 3 5. What's the next pattern? On the and of 2, we're going to do another 3 5. So this is 2. This is the and of 2. And then a 1 and 3, and then 3 5. This is the 4. Where are we? 5, 3, 5. So the 5 is going to be in the other direction. This is 1, 7, 6, 5, 3, 5. Right. Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, I think these guys need to be longer. Right. All right. Let's play it all together.
Closed off from love.
All right. This is way loud. Something I'm not really gonna get into, but it's pretty important, is voice leading. I mean, this is not specific to bachata, but in music, as with many art forms, there's usually 1 or 2 main focal points at any given time. And with music, typically it's the voice. And obviously, this is the voice. And what I did was, the guitar was just way too loud. It was distracting from the voice. So I'm going to turn this down. This is the volume of the track. For some reason, this instrument is really loud. This one doesn't seem to be loud at all. And let's see what it sounds like now. This might have to be turned down.
Closed off from love.
Okay. Now, why do I leave out the rhythm guitar and the lead guitar? Personally, I think it's a little distracting. And especially if the song is, pretty somber. These are very active instruments, right? And I think it takes away from that. Maybe I'll bring them in for certain parts like the chorus or a really exciting part, but that's why I leave them out. Anyway, we just did 1 bar of music, of bachata. Now, I realized I didn't tell you how I know that we are on the 1 chord at this point in time, right? So if we solo this, she's saying closed off from love.
Closed off from love, I didn't need the pain.
Closed off from love, I didn't need the pain. Now, well, I'll show you how I did that. I went to ultimateguitar.com, right? I looked up the song. A lot of times there will be different versions of the song. Like, I think people submit different chord changes for them. I just chose the most popular one with the highest ratings, right? And here are the lyrics with the chords in them. The one thing, this doesn't tell you what key you're in, so you don't know what number, what chord number you're supposed to be playing, but it tells you the name, the letter for the chord that you should play. Now, for this lyric, close off from love, I didn't need the pain, it's telling you that this is an F major. If there's nothing following the letter, if there's no M, a lowercase m following the letter, then it's in major. If there's this lowercase m following the letter, it's in minor. Okay, that matters. But I already know that we're in the key of F major. So if, I come here and it says F, I already know this is the 1, right? F is the 1. And then then I see the next couple of lyrics are in D minor. Well, that's the 6th, right? The 6th note in F major. Well, anyway, this is how I would do it if I didn't have any understanding of music theory. So far, hopefully with the knowledge you have, you could just look at this, and you see it repeats over and over again and over again. This is the 1 6 4 5 1 6 4 5 1 6 4, and it just keeps repeating that like that. This is how I knew that we're on the F major chord, or the 1 chord. Okay. Now she just said these 2 lyrics, so let's complete that. Because we only did 1 bar. I think this is 1 bar and this is another bar, and we only did 1 bar of music. So I don't recommend simply copying and pasting. I never do that, because I believe as an artist you should be conscious of every note that you write. But for the purposes of the tutorial, I'm just going to copy and paste. All All right, this is closed off from love. I didn't need the pain. This is one bar, another bar, and we added 2 bars of bachata music. All right, the next 2 bars are going to be in D minor, okay, or the 6. Once, twice enough, and it was all in vain. So let's do that, right? The actual notes we need to change are these guys. These guys are playing actual notes: bass, guitar, and the 2 lead guitars. So again, I don't recommend doing this, but I'm holding on to Alt while I'm dragging it in order to make a new copy. And for bass, I'm gonna click on the track, right? Let me click on the whole track and press E to change with the notes. And we are on the next bar here. All right, the 6. This is 1, 7, 6. I could have gone this way too. The 6 is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the F major scale. But it's like way out there, right? I want to stay close to the notes that I was playing. And look at this. I was just playing the 5 here, which is right next to this 6 right here. So again, I can actually, this is one thing in Logic that's a little annoying. Write a note here. Let's see if this works. Okay. All right, the 6. Okay. And now we're doing this variation of the bass guitar. The 6, 6, 3, 6. So 6, and the end of 2, 6, 3 is here. 3, 6. Could we have gone the other way for the other 3? For the other 3 is here. It's a big jump also. So I would have, I mean, obviously I went this 3 over here. So we just did this, okay? Before I move on to the other guitars, all right, music should be an organic kind of living, breathing thing, never just kind of formula that you just copy and paste. That's one reason why I do not recommend just simply copying and pasting, because there's a lot of repetition going on here. Like, imagine you're a bass guitar player and these are the notes you're given, you would be bored out of your mind. Well, as the composer / whatever producer, this bar to this bar works well because the movement is smooth, right? So let's work backwards a little bit. I don't want to repeat this bar for this previous bar here. So what can I do? If you remember, I told you that this 1 and this 5 can switch places, okay? So this doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't be, the same all the time. Sometimes I do a 1, 1, 5, 1 instead of a 1, 1, 1, 5. Okay, and like I said, it depends on what the music calls for. So for the sake of being dynamic, I will change this bar around so that, it's like an actual bass guitar player is playing this. So it's not repetitive. And that concept will permeate in many, many different forms for music. So if I play just these 3 bars music, it's going to sound like this.
Closed off from love, I didn't need the pain. Once or twice was enough.
Okay. It's much more interesting that way. It's very subtle. I mean, the listener probably doesn't even consciously hear it, but it makes a difference. All right. I can say the same thing about the lead guitar and the rhythm guitar, but I don't really play them that much anyway. But I think for the sake of this tutorial, I'll go through it. All right. Let's see. Lead guitar 613, 613, 61. Basically, we know we're on the 6th chord. So let me click on this once so I can set the default note. Let's see. This is 1 3 5 1 3 5 1 3, and then we need to go to the 6 6 1 3 6 1 3. So this is the 5. The 6 is here and the 6 is here. So which one do I want to go to? maybe let's try the lower one. 6 1 3 6 1 3 6 1. Okay, let's see how that sounds just by itself. Right, that's not bad. Let's go to the rhythm guitar. Let me move this up a little bit. Let's go back to our little reference here. 6 and then 1. Oh, it's basically the same chord, but you're doing it in a more syncopated manner. So let's do that. This is the 1. Oops, sorry. This is the 1. The 6 is here, right? Click that. 6. The 1. Right? So we just did 6 and 1 3 on the 1 and. The and of 2, we're going to do 1 3 again. And then on the 3, we're going to do a 6. Let me do Alt drag on the 3, third measure of the bar. Right? And then 1 3, I can just click Alt and drag. Hold on to Alt while you do it so that it actually copies. I think I should have made this a 1. I know this is going to go here anyway. I can't hear this at all. Alright, what did I just do? I did this. The 6th chord is 6 1 3, right? I'm only going to use those notes. So for these bottom notes, the 6, 6, oh, ominous. You're going to play with the first note of that chord, of that 6th chord, and then the third note of that chord. So 6, and then the third note of that chord is here, but I want to go down, so that's what that looks like. Okay. Let's see what that sounds like by itself. Okay. All right. So we just did 1 bar of the 6 of the, I guess, D minor section, and that is here, right? We just did 1 bar of that, so we need to do another bar before we go to B flat. Okay. Again, I'm just going to copy and paste right now for the sake of you guys. And that principle I was talking about, where we shouldn't be too repetitive, is going to apply to every instrument. So instead of going to 6 to 3, I went 6 3 6. For that, we need to create another bar for the lead guitar. Oops. Boom.
Once or twice was enough, and it was all in vain.
Okay. Boom. Okay. You know what? I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Don't mind me right now. I'm just trying to make it clear for you guys, because that each one of these blocks is a bar. Okay. So far we've done this and this, right? And you repeat that process throughout the song. Okay. So I'm gonna go through the very first verse. And so, okay, these 2 bars were F. Actually, let me see if I can make a marker here. F. Oops. Boom. Here's another marker. be, no, D minor. The next one should be B flat. It's a flat sign. Okay, the next two bars should be C. Okay, and that should just repeat itself over and over and over again. Sorry, I'm just trying to clean this up again. The markers here for the very first verse. Right, for the sake of time. The percussion part, I'm gonna copy that. Sorry, copy that. Wherever you want to paste, if you're in Logic, wherever you want to paste, make sure you click the track where you want to paste. Otherwise, you will cause a lot of headaches for yourself. Okay. Percussion, bass we have to do, and the other guitars we have to do. All right, so let's do the bass guitar. We're on B flat here, where she says, what does she say?
Time starts to pass before you know it, you're frozen.
Time starts to pass. Right, time starts to pass before you know it, you're frozen. B flat, major. So, yeah, we're right here. Flat. Boom. Press E to edit this guy. B flat is here. All right, so what are we doing? I didn't make a cheat sheet for you guys here, but essentially the idea is the same, where you look at what the chord of that number is, right? So you're just going to go look at the third note of that chord. So if we want to look at the chord for B flat, we go up two, and then up to another. All right, so that's the third chord of the note. This is one, this is the next one, the next one. So let's try that. I don't think that's going to sound good, but let me bring that down. All right, let's try that for 2 bars. Let's see what that sounds like. I'm guessing, I don't know how I have an intuition for this, but I'm guessing that I'm going to have to do this. And then, because this is going to, I'm guessing I'm going to have to go up. So that's why I'm going to make this bar, this pattern, and this bar, this pattern. Okay. And we have to do the guitars. This is B flats. Yeah, here. And then the rhythm guitar. Let's see. Let me switch this up. So these 2 bars were for the previous section, right? And I want to create a smooth movement. I think it'll be smoother if I switch these 2 notes around, right? Because I can lead smoothly into the next section. Therefore, I want to change this guy for the sake of being dynamic. And yeah, right. What is this? 1, 6. No, this is 4 and 6. 1, 6, 1. I already know these guys are going to be on the off counts for every beat. Right. And then, what is this? Let's go 3, 4. On the 3 count, we're going to do one, and then the 4 count, we'll do another note. Boom. See what that sounds like. Okay. Unsolo that. I just have a feeling that, this is the right variation to end on, because we're going to the 5 chord after that, or the C, and the C is here. So I want to lead to I want to lead to a smooth movement to the next phrase. Okay, so let's see what I just did. This is what I just did, like the B flat major section.
Time starts to pass before you know it, you froze.
All together, sounds like this.
Closed off from love, I didn't need the pain. Once or twice was enough, and it was all in vain. Time starts to pass before you know it, you're frozen.
Sounds decent, right? It makes sense musically. The chords work, so far so good. And the next section is C. So let's see what we have to do here. Wait, okay. Bass. Same thing. Sorry, just gonna zoom in. We ended like this. Let me just clarify. What is she saying here? She said frozen, right? And we know that after she's basically during or after she says frozen, the song is in C major. So that's how I know that section is in C major. So let's do that. Okay. This is the C. Right? I want this length note. Right, boom. And I want the third note in the C chord in whatever chord I'm in. This is the first note, the second note in the chord, and the third note in the chord. So I want this, but again, I think I tend to go down for the bass guitar when I'm going to that third note in the chord. So it sounds like this. Sounds good. Let's do the next bar. So, again, I think I'm gonna want it like that, because we have to go back. Since the whole thing repeats itself, right? It's gonna go to an F or the 1. And the F is here. Now you might say, hey, that's a jump, but F, going from F to 1 is a pleasing sound. It's actually, the most essentially kind of quintessential chord progression, at least in Western music, going from the 5 to the 1. So that's totally fine. All right, let's do that. Let's do the lead guitar next. And again, we have to go to C. So what does the pattern is the first, third, fifth, first, third, fifth, fifth. Okay, so we find the C. And then the C chord is, again, C, and then this note, and then this note, right? 1, yeah. And we're gonna go here. Copy that. That's 1 bar. Boom. Okay. I'm completely oversimplifying the lead guitar and the rhythm guitar. I highly recommend listening to your favorite bachata music and seeing what they do. But essentially, the concept is the same. You need to know what the chords are in order to know what notes to play. And it's not, so suddenly when you listen to bachata music, it'll make more sense. They're not just playing random notes. It's not like impossible to figure out, and different artists will have, their own favorite kind of patterns that they like to use, and that will become apparent over time. But you have to listen to a lot of bachata music to figure out what those are, and then experiment on your own to figure out which ones you like. All right, so let's finish off with the rhythm guitars. Again, we're on the C chord. And where is C? Where do I want to... This has been going this way, down. And I need to make my way back up because I need to go back here. It's going to repeat itself. So I could have gone to this C, right? But I think I'm going to go back up because I need to get back here again, right? This is generally trending like downwards, and I need to come back up. So I'm going to choose this C for my first notes, right? These two bars were the previous section, the B flat. So let's write this C in. Right. I'm going to fill in that chord. Where is it? I know these guys are all only off counts anyway. Boom, boom, boom. Right. What is it? We're on the counts 1, 3, and 4. Right? And I'm playing with the first and the third notes in the chord, in the C chord again. This is the first, this is the second note of the chord, the third note of the chord. So let's do this. Okay, that's 1 bar. I know it's 2 bars because I listen to the music. And I have to do this because I need to get back to the 1 here, the F. That's why I'm choosing this as the preceding note before the next section. It makes for smooth movement, and that's basically it. We just made, bachata music for 1 verse. I'm gonna make this a little clearer. Boom. Okay, let's listen to the whole thing. Let me save this.
Closed off from love, I didn't need the pain. Once or twice was enough, and it was all in vain. Time starts to pass before you know it, you're frozen. Ooh.
Sounds pretty good, right? It fits. Now, is it interesting? I don't know. But it works. So that's the framework, and you keep doing that for the entire song. Now it seems daunting, yes. You can copy and paste if it's really daunting to you. I guess you can copy and paste, but again, I would go over every single note and understand why you're putting that note there, and if you want to change it up to make it interesting. Now, let me do just a variation for the percussion, because we basically kept the percussion, but it's the same, right? So, where are we in the song? She says,
But something happened for the very first time with you.
Something happened for the very first time with you. Okay, here we are in the song. Basically, we're starting all over again. The chord progression starts all over again. So I can just write in the same exact guitars, right? For the next verse. But let's say I want to change up the percussion. So what do? Well, I already know this. I can literally copy and paste for the purpose of this tutorial. I would never ever do this in real life. But all these guys, I can just copy and paste. Boom. And it would work. I'm fairly confident it would work.
But something happened for the very first time with you. My heart melted to the ground, found something true in every
I mean, I literally could copy and paste this almost throughout the entire song, and it would work. I think you have to watch out for this. There's like a funny section somewhere in the song where she takes like a 4 count break. So she like adds a bar, and you have to watch. Simply copy and pasting this wouldn't make sense because I would be off by a bar, because somewhere in the song it randomly just adds like a random bar. But anyway, otherwise I could have just copied and pasted this whole thing, but that would not make you a creative artist. All right. All right. So let's try. Actually, I'm not even gonna do that. Let's try to make a variation for the percussion for the next section. Let's see here. All right, so we have this down, the 1 2 4 1 2 3 4. I need to add these weak hits on the off counts, right? So let me see what I should add. This sounds like I kind of like this. I think for the weak hits I want something that's kind of in between. I think this and this in terms of how high the pitch is. I don't want it to be a really high pitched hit, and it needs to be really subtle. Like it can't really say too much. Okay, so let's just do that. Right. So these are the weak hits on each off count. And this is let me solo this. Let's see what it sounds like. Okay, oh, we have the gira also. And like I said, for the gira, we're going to just do a hit on every bongo. So it's going to sound like this. Okay, so let's play that. All right, cool. For the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to just copy and paste, and this is the next section. I'm not going to keep copying and pasting this, but just know that this repeats over and over and over again. Let's go from the last bar of the first verse into our next section with the variation of the percussion.
But something happened for the very first time with you. My heart melted to the ground, found something true.
Okay, so you get it, right? Here's a quick tip about transitions, and in bachata it's really important. In any music, transitions are important, but in bachata it's a signature kind of pattern, or not pattern, a technique, going from one section to the next. And you probably know what I'm talking about, especially for the percussion. When you like finish a bar, if you go into before you go into a new bar, there's like the drummer will do a bunch of hits and then go into the next section, right? It kind of primes you for what's coming next. Okay. And there's no formula for this at all. Again, I would listen to a lot of bachata music, but I guess I will try to do a really basic one for you. All right, I'm doing this off the fly, completely off of, on the fly. So I apologize if I'm like incoherent. All right. Now in Logic, it's pretty nifty because you can tell it to only show the notes that you have played so far, so it makes it easier to look at. All right. For what I call fillers, these really quick hits before you go into the next section, you're going to use much smaller increments of counts rather than simply 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And you're going to use really tiny divisions within each count because it's really, really fast. So let's see, what do I want going from here? Okay, really, really simple one is, let's see, how do I want to make like 30-second notes, for instance. Let me delete this guy. I want to make 30-second notes, right? Not trying to do that. All right, I'm gonna improvise right now. Okay, I want to make that kind of note. I'm gonna just drag that over. Let's see what that sounds like. All right, getting there. And like I said, let's try to make a gira for every bongo hit and see what that sounds like. Okay, kind of, right? It's getting there. I would start off with something like that. There are a million different variations of fillers. Do not do the same. I never do the same filler for a song. I mean, like, I put them everywhere and I just do them. I literally do them manually every single time I do them. And it takes a long time. And I don't want to spend too much time on it. I would really recommend paying attention to the bachata music that you love and see what they do. This filler is kind of boring. I mean, but let's say you would want to do subdivisions of this. Give me a second. Let's see if I can. Yeah. Let's see what happens if we doubled that. Okay, that's kind of the idea. It doesn't sound natural because we're using a computer, right? So it sounds like a machine making the music. And there are different tricks you can do, to make it sound less harsh and less robotic. One is to change what's called the velocity of the MIDI notes. So the velocity is basically kind of like how strong the note is, but it's not simply volume. It's kind of like the quality of, or the timbre of the instrument. And for a lot of these, DAWs nowadays, if you change the velocity, the actual sound will change. It's not simply like turn up the volume of a drum. If you hit a bongo really soft, and then you hit a bongo really hard, it's not so simply, it just sounds louder. It actually sounds different, right? And that's the same idea. This velocity information will change that, for hopefully for the instruments that you download or that you come with your software. So if it's a really rapid repetition, I'll start off by maybe like lowering the velocity a little bit so it's less harsh. You can also randomize or humanize the velocity, which basically makes them all random, right? I think in in Logic, you can do something like this: MIDI transform. You do random velocity, something like that, or humanize. It looks something like this. I don't want to get too much into this, but let's just operate only. And that should be done, right? So I don't know if you can notice this, but it changed in Logic. This view in Logic, the different velocities will have different colors, right? So I put it all the way up, it looks like that. All the way down, looks like that. So let me put it back up. I don't know, somewhere here. I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see a difference here, but let me do it a little more. MIDI transform, humanize. I think. Let's try to do a little bit more. Hopefully. This is a really subtle point, but it makes a difference. Okay. Another thing is that the gira, I found that the gira in Logic sounds very harsh. It's like way loud. So you can select all of them by basically first selecting the entire track. Be careful when you do this, by the way, because you're going to affect the entire track. And then you can select all the notes of the gira by doing this, right? And then lower all the velocities respectively, on a relative basis. So, oops. Let's say, wait, if I go to 0, what is it? Okay. I don't know. I find the gira to stand out way too much, so I'll lower them. Hopefully, it sounds better. All right, yeah. To me, that sounds better, but that's personal choice. Giving you an idea of just how to get started with the basics, right? You kind of get this process. You would do it over and over and over again until the song is done. And if you don't have much um, um, background in musical theory, this is I would recommend doing it like this first to get used to, basically first figure out where you are in the song, play the lyric.
But
right?
I don't care what they say. I'm in love with you.
Right, that's the beginning of the first chorus. Where are we? I don't care what they say. I'm in love with you. So then find out what the chord is for that section, and write the notes appropriately. Okay, that's essentially the process. I would say the way to make it interesting is to play around with this concept. Okay, what makes it interesting? Everybody knows, consciously or subconsciously, this pattern of bachata music, or any kind of music. People know what the basic pattern is. So I would start here, and then I would start to make variations, because it not only demonstrates that you have a fundamental knowledge of the music genre that you're dealing with, but it also shows that you're a creative person. Like, you can think outside of this box. So you might, I don't know, you might think of a variation that I haven't thought of that is like much more fun. One variation that I think is way overused, I did use it a while ago, but not just overused in bachata, but in like, what's it called? So many different genres now, like pop music, is what I think of as like an R&B slash like hip hop pattern, which is gonna look like, 1 second. Okay, let me bring this up. It's gonna look like this. So, you'll have a kick and a snare or a snap, right? And let's see. So the bongos will be the same, all the stuff the same, right? And then you have like the basic, like, I don't know what this pattern is called, but kick and a snare, right? Kicks on 1 and 3, and then snares on 2 and 4, snare or snap. And I can show you how to do that right now. But this is very, very, very simple way to make things a little more interesting. Another concept that's very powerful that no one uses, and I mean almost no one uses, that to the extent that they should, at least in the bachata scene, is like using less, taking a part out here or there and make it dynamic and lively, rather than just everything playing at the same time all the time. Sometimes I take out the bongos and keep the gira in, or vice versa. I think I mentioned the kizomba variation before. So I'll show you how to do this really quickly. It's super, super easy and way overused. Even in the bachata scene, it's like way, way overused, and it's like stupidly simple. So let's see. It's all in the percussion. Let me drag this guy over. Right. Let's just keep. This is the. Give me a second. Right. I don't want this variation. I want. Okay. I just want the basic variation. I want to do that. I want to add a kick and snare. Well, a really, really simple way. Let's say I need to insert another track. Right, stop for instrument track. Yeah, I'll keep this up here. I need to import some kind of percussion kit, like a drum kit, right? I think slow jam's good. Wait, maybe neo soul. I can't remember. All right, so I bring up that. I'm gonna close this out with Y. Press E to bring this guy up, the editor up, and I can see. I hope you can see all the different instruments, right? Now I'm gonna measure 28, right? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and I said we're gonna do a kick and a snare. One and 3 we're gonna do the kick. 2 and 4 we're gonna do a snare or snap. Everyone's using a snap nowadays. Not sure if you can hear that. Okay. Boom, boom. Well, let me undo this view. Okay. I want this a little louder. And then I can barely see this. Ooh, I like pops, but let's do a little snare. It's really, really harsh, so bring that down. And that's as simple. That's really as, this is what it sounds like. All right, it's a little fast, so we might have to take out something. But let's see what it sounds like with the bongo, the percussion for the bachata. Okay. We can take out the third kick so that it's less busy. Okay. I wish this had a. I have a kit with snaps in it, and I don't want to reveal it because it's like my own thing. But if you can find, I mean, you can just Google like, snap sample, and download that, and then like drag that into your program, and that's all you need. Give me a second. That was Siri talking to me. And sometimes you don't even need the kick, right? Right. And I would just do that over and over. But I think, 1 second. Yeah, you can even, at certain points leave out the bachata percussion altogether. I think, unfortunately, the bachata remixers out there do not understand like audio, I guess, like the subtleties of audio engineering, and they leave things way they just try to play too many things that of the same frequency at the same time, so things sound muddy, right? I'm not going to get into that, but my advice is that less tends to be better, especially if you're going to remix songs, especially if you're not dealing with the acapella version. If you're dealing with the original version, I would try to be as subtle as you can, because it's going to sound muddy the more stuff you add. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. Let me see if I can find a snap for you guys. I just spent a minute to find a free snapping sound. There's a website called freesound.org, free registration, where I just found a bunch of snap samples. So here's what I do, right? I unzip the, I just search for snaps, right? A snap audio sample on Google, and this is the first thing that came up. So I'm going to drag the audio file that I downloaded. Let me unsolo this. Actually, whoa, this is way off. All right, what I'm doing now, so this is the beat. The beat is on, for measure 28. I need to make sure the sound is on the beat, right? This is not very high quality, huh? And so I'm just lining up the audio with the beat. But like I said, I want to, let me close this guy. I want to put this guy on the 2 and the 4, right? So the 2, let me make that clear. Right, the 2 is here, so let me put this guy here. And then 4 is here, so I'm going to copy this guy and then paste it here. So this is what it sounds like.
But I don't care what they say.
Let me put this louder.
But I don't care what they say.
I'm not sure if you can hear that. Wait, oh, this guy's on.
But I don't care what they say.
Okay, that's the idea. You can play around with the levels, which I'm not going to go into, but that's the general idea, okay? And you can do that at certain sections, like let's say a song gets really soft, or after the chorus there's like a lull in the music, and maybe I'll put it there because this is what the end of the chorus sounds like.
Keep bleeding love. You cut me up, baby.
Like here, so there's not much music before the next verse starts, and maybe I would put the bachata percussion back there, right? That's all I can think of off the top of my head. Those are the very, very essential basics. Then what you would do is assuming this is finished, depending on how detailed you want to get, maybe you would make sure the sound is very, very clean, and that's a process in and of itself that I cannot teach you. But you know, assuming, let's say you finish this process for the entire song, then you would export this to audio. And in the audio engineering world, that's usually called bouncing your track or bouncing your mix to audio. So if you're using different software, you're not sure how to export this to audio. Let's see what it says in Logic. You can do bounce, write project or section, export. I don't think this is quite what you want to do. It's bounce, and I would do project or section, right? And you know, use Google. Obviously, if you're having trouble, use Google, and then it should be able to bounce to an MP3 file, which you then upload to YouTube if you feel like. All right, I think that is the end of my tutorial here. Let me see if there's anything else to export to audio. I talked about this. Oh, these are the chord progressions for the song. There's a bridge in the middle that's only 8 bars long, but it's the same chord progression. And that's it. I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope you learned something, and really I'm hoping that somebody out there will make something really interesting. And please contact me if you do. I really would be interested in hearing some of your stuff. If you have any questions, let me know. You can contact me on YouTube or on Facebook. It's facebook.com/DaleCha, DAEILCHA. And I'm trying to be responsive. Anyway, talk to you later.